All right, we're going to go live in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. This is Ken Cook from Environmental Working Group, and thanks for joining on this wonderful webinar where you're going to find out from real experts just what this Inflation Reduction Act might mean for you. You know what the Inflation Reduction Act is. It's the big bill that passed last year in Congress, has many aspects to it, but including in those aspects are many that will benefit consumers. This is a legislation that's described as a climate bill, and it certainly has a lot of impact on the climate or potential impact. Massive changes underway in the US economy for how we're going to power our homes and businesses that the Inflation Reduction Act, this big spending bill, will influence. But it also has potential real benefits for you as a consumer. And at EWG, we like to think we're pretty good at bringing those kinds of things to your attention. And so today we're bringing to you our partners at EnergySage, who have been for some years now our source providing to you, EWG listeners and our EWG audience, information about solar that we frankly don't have the expertise to develop at EWG. So we looked around, what were the best sources for consumers for information on the crucial question of going solar for your home. And we picked EnergySage, a wonderful organization that helps you figure out what makes most sense for you amongst all the choices that are out there when it comes to making a decision about putting solar panels on your roof or somewhere on your property to power yourself instead of relying solely on your local utility. And so I'm joined today by Ben Sonnega, who's going to kick off from EnergySage. Ben, thank you for joining us. And we have another colleague from EnergySage, I think, who might join us in a bit too. And he's here to tell us what the Inflation Reduction Act means for you. It's some fantastic benefits, basically giving you tax breaks that help you afford solar sooner than you might think. And solar prices are different in every state. I'm in California. We face a new regime of solar pricing that the utilities have forced on us. It's not as positive for the consumer as it was just a few months ago. Other states are also facing this kind of pressure from utilities to really make it less attractive to put solar on your rooftop. But leaving all of that aside, that's state by state. Leaving all that aside, it's really a great time to put solar panels and a battery, if you can manage it or afford it or it makes sense for you, at your residence, because you can have big savings, clean up the environment, get a little freedom from the big utilities, and at the same time, participate in this great civic engagement process all of us in the nonprofit world are engaging in now to try and make the planet a little more sustainable, try to make our energy a little greener. And Ben's here to tell us what the Inflation Reduction Act contributes to that. So Ben, welcome. Great to have you on.
Ken, thanks so much for having me. Hello, everyone. I'm Ben Sonnega with EnergySage. Again, Ken said it all best. We're the nation's leading online marketplace for home electrification. I am going to open up a slideshow and tell you a little bit more about what the Inflation Reduction Act means for you. My expert colleague, Emily Walker, is also on the call. She's going to get into the nitty gritty in terms of what is in some of these credits and what are the amounts. And then we're going to wrap up. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how EnergySage can help you take advantage and what you might be able to expect when it comes to checking out the EnergySage partnership. So before we dive straight into what's actually in the credits, I thought I would talk a little bit about the history of how this act came to pass and just how big of a deal this really is. So in terms of the history, the Inflation Reduction Act is actually an amended version of the Build Back Better Act, which you may have heard about, or if you remember, fall of 2021. That was a pretty big effort. And then the Inflation Reduction Act itself is actually it's a companion reconciliation bill to the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which was signed into law in that fall of 2021. So what all that means, the companion reconciliation bill, what that means is it's only to do with tax, spending, and debt, which allows it to be passed through a simple majority rather than the normal 3/5 majority needed. So after truly a full year of negotiations, including some hopefulness, some doubt, some sort of roller coaster back and forth that those of you paying attention to things like this may remember, Senator Joe Manchin's name in the news quite often. This bill was finally passed into law in August of 2022. It authorizes $369 billion in spending towards clean energy and climate action. This represents the largest investment towards solving climate change in United States history. So there's a lot in there, clearly a lot that we're going to dive into and some yet to even be determined. But I wanted to take a moment just to appreciate how big of a deal this really is. And, wanted to shout out groups like EWG and all the multiple stakeholders, including individual citizen activists who made their voice heard, that encouraged the federal government to actually do something of this magnitude.
And I just have to jump in. For those of you who are Republican in orientation, let's just be clear. Even though no Republicans voted for the benefits we're about to tell you about, you're still eligible for them no matter where you live. This is not a program that only supports Democrats. This is going to help, probably in many cases, some of the most response will be from so-called red states. Now, we're nonpartisan at EWG. So I say this just in the spirit of making clear that this is really an advance that has support at the grassroots level across the partisan spectrum. And even though no Republicans voted for this bill, no matter where you live, no matter your affiliation, you're able to benefit from it if you choose to do so. Sorry, Ben, I just had to put in that little plug for civic duty and awareness.
That's right. Yeah, no worries for the interruption, Ken. You can't say it any better. This is something that everybody can benefit from. A lot of the big investments we're in, which we'll dive into a little bit. My colleague Emily Walker will here soon. But solar, we've talked a lot about battery storage as well. Some new incentives for heat pumps and energy efficient home appliance upgrades, electric vehicles, both new and used, and home energy efficiency. All in there, and some of the sort of big highlights that we'll spend a little bit more time talking about are the investment tax credit, which has historically been for solar, is extended through the year 2034. This is incredible stability and incredible investment through historically important and very successful tax credit for solar to date. Now included as well as storage, but thought I'd include this little tidbit here at EnergySage. We find the average EnergySage shopper actually saves nearly $6,150 on the cost of going solar as a result of the ITC. So this being bumped back up and extended is a really big deal for solar shoppers in the industry. So I'm about to turn it over to my colleague, Emily, who's going to dive a little bit more into the exacts of some of these things that I've mentioned. But, if you tune out at all, which you shouldn't, but if you do, the TLDR here is that now is the best time to electrify your home. EnergySage can help. And you'll see a QR code that I'm going to sort of sprinkle throughout my presentation here. If you have your phone on you and you want to take a look at our website and actually sign up during the presentation, you can scan that QR code. It'll take you to the partnership landing page that we have with EnergySage and our proud partner, EWG. So with that, I will turn it over to Emily Walker.
Thanks, Ben. That was a great introduction. I'm Emily Walker, and I lead our solar and storage content here at EnergySage. And like Ben said, I'll be talking about some of the major incentives that are available to you through the IRA. So first off, for home solar and batteries, the IRA created the Residential Clean Energy Credit, which is an extension of the former investment tax credit, or ITC. And then for energy efficiency, electrical upgrades, and heating and cooling technologies, Ben, I think the slides are no longer showing. Oh, here we go.
There we go. Sorry about that.
It's okay. The IRA created two separate incentives. It added the Energy Efficiency Home Improvement Credit, which is a new version of the former non-business energy property credit, and provides annual tax credits up to $1,200, except for heat pumps, which can earn up to $2,000 annually. It also created high efficiency home rebates, though these are highly dependent on your household income and may depend on whether your state already has rebate programs or not. Then finally, for electric vehicles, or EVs, it created the Clean Vehicle Credit, which extended and amended the former qualified plug-in electric drive motor vehicle credit. So let's get into the details on how these incentives can help you save with the various clean home technologies. Next slide. Perfect. First, let's talk about home solar panel systems. The Residential Clean Energy Credit is the best solar incentive available for most homeowners and provides a credit worth 30% of your solar system costs on your tax bill. It doesn't lower your taxable income like a tax deduction, but instead directly reduces what you owe on your taxes. So it's a really, really great incentive. Before the IRA in 2022, this tax credit had dropped to 26% and was set to drop further to 22% in 2023. But the IRA bumped it back up to 30% through 2032. Then starting in 2033, it will begin to phase out and it'll disappear altogether starting in 2035. So importantly, this tax credit can be applied to many different costs associated with your solar system, including the equipment, labor, and sales tax. Next slide.
Now, can we just pause on that? That is such a big deal for people to think about, right?
It really is.
This is by design a deep benefit to you on your financial bottom line. It's a deep reduction, really, in the effective cost of putting solar and the stuff that goes with it.
Yeah.
In your residence. It's an amazing thing. You really need to appreciate, and I hope everyone will go to EnergySage. If you have any interest in this, go to the link that Ben referenced earlier. You really have to see for yourself in your own setting, in your own context, how many panels you'll put up, all the rest. What a big deal this is.
Yeah, like Ben said, the average EnergySage shopper saves over $6,000 just due to this incentive. So pretty huge. All right, then. So in addition to solar, the Residential Clean Energy Credit now also applies to grid-connected residential standalone battery systems that are over 3 kilowatt hours in size. So before the IRA and prior to 2023, your battery system had to be paired with solar and powered by solar at least 75% of the time for 5 years in order to qualify for the ITC. And for batteries, the ITC follows the same structure in terms of value and timeline as with home solar here. Okay, next slide, Ben. So if you want to just make smaller home upgrades, home more energy efficient, or make some electrical upgrades toward electrifying different parts of your home, as of 2023, you can now earn up to $1,200 in annual tax credits covering up to 30% of your total costs. This amount you earn depends on the upgrades you actually make. So for example, you could earn $600 for air sealing, $600 for electrical upgrades, or $1,200 if you did both in the same year. You could also just perform a home energy audit and earn a $150 credit there. But
so I just have to, this is such a deal. Okay, this is such a deal.
You're only eligible for a life. It really is. It's amazing.
I mean, so the electrical setup in my home, it's an older home. It looks like the kind of electrical setup you would have if I did it for you, which is to say,
yeah,
It's
Very calm.
dangerous. It's underwired and overstressed, and so that shouldn't also be necessarily a barrier, as I experienced as we looked into solar, because of these breaks. That you get a little bit of help in those upgrades too, because going into this, it was realized that many homes needed this kind of additional electrical work in order to manage the solar panels and maybe the new electrical appliances that you're going to put in, like a heat pump. But anyway, I just want to really get people excited about this investment, because this is for real people. This is not something abstract. This is not something that's going to fund some entity or some project or some enterprise far removed from you. This is probably in your basement, right? This is probably your panel, your circuit panel. So I just think it's really important to focus on these key elements that people don't think of when they think of government doing something. That usually means for people, well, it's not going to help me, but it will.
Yeah, and this one is particularly impressive because it's an annual credit. So you can earn this over and over again every year if you space out your home improvements. It's not a one-time thing, which is what it used to be. So it used to be a lifetime tax credit up to $500. So this is really a massive, massive upgrade. And then in addition to these tax credits, you also might qualify for rebates, which we show here on the right. But to qualify for 100% of these rebates, your household income has to be less than 80% of the median family income in your area. To qualify for 50% of them, your household income has to be between 80% and 150% of the median income. And if your income is over 150% of the median income, you won't qualify. But even if you do qualify, unfortunately, the US Department of Energy hasn't provided any guidance yet on how states are actually going to implement these rebate programs, but they're expected to later in 2023. So hopefully we'll know more then. And you can always go back to EnergySage to check out the latest guidance on it. We'll continue to update what we know.
And Emily, I just wanted to also point out, I'm sorry to keep jumping in, but
no, it's fine. It's good.
You know, the whole point of targeting these additional incentives that Emily just mentioned to low and moderate income households, it should be obvious to everyone. A lot of the energy revolution started, at least the residential energy revolution started with, middle and upper middle income families who could afford it,
Definitely.
who put the investment down and so forth. The whole theme of the Inflation Reduction Act is to democratize these benefits, to democratize the green energy revolution. And so you may or may not qualify for some of these based on your income. I don't begrudge anyone who's going to be able to get into these programs who might have moderate means or moderate ability to invest. These provisions were designed to really help those folks join this revolution, join the ranks of consumers who are participating directly in this amazing renewable energy revolution. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, these possibilities were really not there, right? This is no longer pie in the sky to put solar panels on your roof and have an energy pump or any heat pump. This is the real world now, and don't let utilities or anyone else tell you otherwise. This is accessible to everyday folks in this country now, thanks to these policies, thanks to the inventions, the advances in the drop in the price of the solar panels, thanks to companies, organizations like EnergySage, who are guiding people through these complicated decisions. And they're big decisions, almost it's big like buying a car, big like figuring out where you're gonna live. Those scale decisions require expertise. EnergySage has it in this particular area. So sorry, just plugging you again. So great that we have you.
That's great.
Have your support.
And even if you don't qualify for these rebates, there's a really good chance that your state offers rebates already. I'm about to talk about heat pumps, but I just installed them in my house in Massachusetts, and here in Massachusetts we get a $10,000 rebate for heat pumps. So that covered huge portion of the cost for me. So don't feel deterred. Even if you don't qualify for these ones, you might already have some. So just check that out. So like I said, I'm going to talk about heat pumps now, which are the most efficient way to heat and cool your home. Whether you're looking to upgrade your heating and cooling system, or if you live in an area where you don't have AC, that's what I had. I had no AC in my home, and my heating and cooling system was really old. So really easy decision to install some mini splits in my house. These heat pumps qualify for the same incentives I just discussed for energy efficiency and electrical upgrades, but they're at the higher values here. So if you install heat pumps to heat and cool your space, you can earn up to $2,000 in annual tax credits until 2023, which for me, on top of the $10,000 rebate I earned through Massachusetts, I'm also going to get a $2,000 tax credit at the end of the year, which is great. And up to $8,000 in upfront rebates, which would be, again, we're not really sure how this works in terms of the states. If you already have a rebate program, you might not be eligible for this, but we don't know because they haven't released any guidance on it yet. For heat pump water heaters, you can also earn up to $2,000 in annual tax credits until 2023 or 2033, and up to $1,750 in rebates if you qualify. So again, these incentives are a huge upgrade from what was previously available. Prior to 2023, you could only earn a tax credit up to $300, and that was part of that $500 lifetime credit. So this means if you would use that $500 towards something else, you couldn't even earn anything for heat pumps. So really, really great deal here that you're getting through the IRA.
And so it's coming at it in terms of benefits and incentives, inducements from both ends, right? So there's a chance here to get out of the grip of your local utility by being your own utility on your rooftop. And that can include batteries. I don't know if we'll be getting to that later on, Emily, but that can include the benefit of having batteries if that makes sense for you. So that's the supply side of your energy getting, in effect, a little bit off the grid. You'll still be connected, but you'll be your own power supplier. You won't be relying on these on the company for and captive to whatever rate increases they have in mind and however they come about them. And then you get the benefit in addition of the demand side, if you will. You're going to get more energy efficient appliances as you electrify more. You're going to be powering more efficient modern appliances instead of gas furnaces, gas water heaters, and so forth, and all the issues that are related to that environmentally and related to it in terms of your health, in terms of a gas stove in the kitchen. So it's both ends of the proposition, and that's why it's very exciting that this law was passed. That's helping all Americans who have an interest in moving in this direction. This is a big financial helping hand.
Yeah, it really is. Whether you're just looking for energy independence, whether you want to protect yourself from grid outages you're frequently experiencing, or you just want to save money, it really can make a huge impact on your overall life by taking advantage of some of these incentives. So finally, we're going to talk about electric vehicles. Before the IRA, the qualified plug-in electric drive motor vehicle credit only applied to the first 200,000 plug-in electric vehicles that were sold by manufacturers. So this means that some of the most popular brands like Tesla no longer qualified for the credit. The IRA extended the EV tax credit through 2032 and also made it so that there's no longer a vehicle cap. There's no restriction in the number of cars manufactured by a specific brand. But now there are domestic manufacturing requirements and income and price restrictions. Keeping with that trend that Ken was talking about earlier, really trying to encourage more adoption of these clean energy technologies among people who otherwise wouldn't be able to qualify. So the tax credit for new EVs is worth $7,500. And to qualify for the full credit, listen to this closely because it's very confusing and it's a big mouthful. We can direct you to where you can find out more about this. But 40% of your EV's batteries, critical minerals, need to be extracted or processed in the US or a US free trade agreement partner or recycled in North America. On top of that, 50% of your battery components have to be manufactured or assembled in North America. So these are split up into two different components. To qualify for the full thing, you have to meet both requirements. And then after 2023, these percentages will increase. So it's going to become, they're trying to make it so that more things are manufactured in the US or in North America or among our allies, and that we're really less reliant on foreign countries. So that means that this is just going to become higher and higher, which should incentivize you to, adopt an EV as soon as possible. And then in addition to this, the final assembly of your EV has to be performed in the US. So the other really exciting thing about the IRA is that it provides tax credits for the sales of used EVs, up to $4,000 or 30% of the sale price. For this, the EV has to be the first time this specific EV is being resold. It can't be the second or third time. And like I said before, both new and used EV tax credits are subject to income requirements, which as shown on your tax return, which I show over here, and vehicle cost restrictions as well. And that's it for coverage of the incentives. I'll now pass it back over to Ben, who will explain how EnergySage can help you take advantage of them.
So just one more point, which is a lot of the emphasis on the, for lack of a better shorthand, the made in the USA approach, it's us trying to claw back what we originated in this country, which was, this is where the solar energy revolution began in the United States. And then for a variety of reasons, including a lot of pressure from other energy sources who shall be nameless, but coal, gas, and so natural gas and so forth, a lot of pressure to not advance this solar revolution because it was so threatening to those industries, starting with the transition from Jimmy Carter, the nuclear engineer who put solar panels, US-made solar panels on the White House roof. The next election that came along, they were pulled off the roof and the incentives for the oil and gas industry were increased. So we're really trying to, we're trying to make this more democratic, these benefits. We're trying to make them significant enough that you really will take a close look at them. And then finally, we're really trying to rebuild some US infrastructure that we let go. It went to China, it went to other places, it went to Europe. And unfortunately, we lost out on technologies that we actually invented in this country. So part of the Inflation Reduction Act strategy was, well, okay, let's invest in the manufacturing base here. Let's bring back more of those jobs, even if it's just battery recycling, if it's solar panel production, whatever it might be, batteries, lots of battery plants popping up all over the United States now in anticipation of being rewarded by a strategy that, has some of our trade partners a little nervous, upset, protesting, but we're investing in America here. And so that's just one more reason to feel good about taking a close look at these IRA benefits. And the place to take that close look is EnergySage. Take it away, Ben.
Well said, Ken. Truly never a better time. Obviously, this response to climate change does ultimately somewhat rely on all of us to take these actions. And that's where we're here to help out. I just want to show you a few more of the different ways that EnergySage can help. I know the Facebook Live chat should have a link pinned at the top. If you want to drop that into your URL and follow along, you should see a page that looks like this with both of our logos. And again, if you want to do it on your phone, QR code is right there. The process of going solar is what I'm going to talk about first. And most of these principles remain the same throughout the EnergySage process. Again, we're an online marketplace where you can sign up to be guided through the process of going solar and taking advantage of these credits. Additionally, I don't have a slide for this, but I did want to shout out, since Emily is one of our expert content writers, that we have thousands of really awesome articles, infographics, videos available on the website that cover all things energy, not just the marketplace offerings that I'm going to tell you a little bit more about. But if you're interested in solar quotes, you want to take advantage of that ITC, register for a free account on EnergySage with the link that we've shared. Specify a little bit about your property and how you want to go solar, if you want to include storage. Just share a little bit of that info, and we will help you get custom quotes for your home from our vetted network of trustworthy installers. Then you can compare those quotes apples to apples. We present the information in a really easy to digest way, as well as dedicate an energy advisor to each customer that signs up. So you get the support of an unbiased expert energy advisor, who's a person from our team that'll help you understand the quotes that you got, understand, maybe some answers to questions that you're not asking, answer the questions that you do have, help you ultimately select your installer and sign a contract. And, we're here to help and to answer questions all the way through and after having your system installed. We don't go away. If there is, we didn't talk a ton about this before, but we do have a marketplace for what's called community solar. I'm not going to dwell for a very long time on this, but if you are a renter, if you have a lot of trees in your yard that shade the roof really nicely and you don't want to cut them down and solar doesn't make as much sense, for any reason, if you want to take advantage of both savings and supporting clean energy, then community solar might be a good option for you, where you can subscribe to actually a community solar farm that you might see outside of town or near the highway, to earn credits on your utility bill for a discount. You do save money, and we can help you take a peek at what projects you might be available for just based on your zip code. So if you just type in your zip code to that link that we shared, you can see what you're available for, learn more about the projects, as well as talk to some of our expert energy advisors. Worth noting that unfortunately community solar is not available in every single state. This is because it needs to be enabled through state legislation. We're all fighting for it, and we're well on our way to opening up new states each year as the solar revolution presses on. But I just wanted to give you a quick peek at the states that community solar is eligible in. If you're in one of these states highlighted, then you should maybe take a peek.
Also,
So Ben,
just to add in.
No, go ahead, Emily,
sorry.
please.
I was just going to say, even if you don't see your state listed there, the Inflation Reduction Act actually invests quite a bit in community solar. So we can expect more states to come out with projects and invest in that policy in the future, because there's a lot of funding available for it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. I was just going to point out, and I don't think you're going to be talking about the work that EnergySage does helping businesses go solar, but you do have that aspect too. And there may be folks on the call who own a business or have some engagement with a business. Can you say a little bit about? I've looked at your site, but not in detail. But you do offer a service where you can help businesses get quotes for putting solar on the rooftop of a warehouse or a property they may own or nearby, or what have you. Can you say a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, that's a service that we do offer. The main page might not look necessarily like that, but that is something that we can help with, and we have done plenty of in the past. If you're a business owner, if you're representing maybe a local government, a house of worship, anybody looking to get a small, medium-sized commercial scale installation on a property, and if you want to get some quotes, certainly reach out to us. I'll put my email and Emily's are at the end. We're not the folks that cover it, but if you represent a business and you're this sounds like something that's interesting to you, go ahead and reach just out to me directly, and I'll put you in touch with the right people to get that up and running.
Because a lot of the same incentives are relevant here, right?
Yeah, there's actually, it's a little different for businesses. I won't get too far into the details here, but it's also the the IRA made it so that nonprofits now can take advantage of the ITC much more easily than they could in the past. So it's a lot easier for businesses to go solar after the IRA. There's a lot of great incentives. There's adders to the ITC if the building is in a lower moderate income community. There's a whole bunch of things, and we cover those details in our guide to the IRA, which I don't know if you included a link to, Ben, but we could maybe add it in the chat. And also just adding on, when you do go solar through EnergySage as a business, it's a concierge service. So it's a lot more hand holding because it's such a huge financial decision and there's so many considerations. We'll really be with you. Not that we aren't if you're a homeowner as well, but even more so if you're a business, we will be there every step of the way to help you out and help you make that decision.
Great, thank you. Thanks for covering that.
Yeah, great question. Great thing to bring up. Air source heat pumps, way to electrify your heating and cooling at home that Emily talked about, with tons of new great incentives, especially now that you know what it used to look like compared to what's available now. Truly never a better time. And we are excited to share with the audience here at EWG that we did this year launch a brand new marketplace for air source heat pumps that looks, relatively similar, all the same bells and whistles that I've described. If you live in Massachusetts, Colorado, Florida, or California, this is something for you. And if you don't live in one of those states, but you think, oh man, I really want to go through EnergySage, very soon we'll be in your state. This is rapidly expanding and a really exciting new offering.
As someone who just installed heat pumps and had no idea where to start, it was great. I used EnergySage, very happy customer, just saying.
And as someone who's trying to talk his wife into a heat pump, it may have to wait when she's, away on business. Maybe the decision will happen during that window. You never know. But yeah, I think this is a great service to add to the suite of offerings at EnergySage, because it's also a complicated set of decisions to make to figure out if a heat pump works for you.
And it's really important to get a good installer. It's like even more so than solar. If you don't get a good installer for a heat pump, your system won't be nearly as efficient as if you get somebody who really knows what they're doing. So being able to go with an installer who's already pre-vetted, that we've made sure is good to go, it really builds confidence.
That's exactly right. I've said this probably 3 times now, but I did want to dwell lastly on our expert energy advising team. This isn't a hotline that you can call that's a rotating cast. Every customer that signs up for quotes through EnergySage is dedicated an energy advisor. So whether that's Sam or Joe or Lila, any of my colleagues working here, that person remains the same and is your dedicated consumer advocate. You can think of them to answer your questions, assist through, again, the early stages if you're just learning and you want to get some quotes to understand what it looks like, or you really have some specific questions that you want to get answered before selecting an installer. Our team is there to help. And for all of the services that I've just described and walked through, our energy advisors are there to help you out. So that's all. Again, I wanted to thank Ken, thank EWG. We are really proud to be partners with EWG and all the amazing work that you do. There's my email, there's Emily's email. Again, if you want to reach out directly, and if you want to get your journey started, that QR code is popping up again if you haven't already scanned it and have that tab open on your phone or on your computer to go ahead and sign up for quotes. And with that, I think maybe, Ken, we can wrap up and maybe do some question and answer if there's any.
Yeah, sure. Well, just to emphasize, we take a lot of pride at EWG in giving you, our audience, the best advice we can give you. And if we don't have an answer, if we don't know, if the science is unclear or it's an area we're not familiar with, we tell you that and we try and find the right resource to answer your questions. Well, that's EnergySage for us in this whole area of going solar, heat pumps, battery storage, all the financial questions around it. We don't study that. We don't make that our day-to-day business. EnergySage does. And in particular, if you've done this, gone through this exercise as I did a few years ago before EnergySage came into my life, and just went out randomly and asked for some quotes from solar companies. Oh my gosh, I mean, I think they may follow me to my grave, asking me if I want solar panels just right above the headstone. It just never ends. But with EnergySage, that is also managed for you. So a big part of this is reducing the friction and the hassle of going out as a privateer and trying to make your way through this complicated rooftop solar energy, home energy world. It's much better to do it, much more controlled. You're the consumer, much more in control when you're working with EnergySage.
One thing I'll add to that, Ken, and that I didn't mention, and I'm sorry for not saying this, is that we don't ask for a phone number. That is optional. That is intentional. We know that experience is not a good one, like Ken just mentioned, feeling like you're going to be followed to the grave by, certain installers maybe reaching out, relentlessly. And we're committed to consumer protection. And one of the ways that we're doing that is by obviously not asking for a phone number.
Yeah, there's companies out there, I'm sure, that offer solar panels on your coffin. I'm just sure that, you'll get a call during the wake or something, right? So you want to avoid all of that. You want to deal with EnergySage because they will cut out that hassle significantly, but very efficient communication nonetheless through email and text and so forth. So it's very well organized. So do we have questions? I ask my colleagues at maybe who are running this show behind the scenes at EWG. If we don't have questions, maybe we'll just sign off. And if you want to follow up with questions later, you can always send us the questions. We will more than likely send them to EnergySage. If you're inclined to do it, let us know which state you're from. That might make things a little faster going to EnergySage, so they'll send it to the right folks in the organization. But I think unless we have questions, I think we're going to sign off and just take a look at that code with your smartphone if you have it available, or go to ewg.org. You'll find our EnergySage page pronto. Anything else? I'm asking my colleagues if there's anything else we need to know. Yeah.
We actually did get a few questions from the audience.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, one of them from Marky says, sounds like you might have to be a homeowner to take advantage of some of these benefits. You may have covered this one, but just want to clarify.
Thanks.
Yeah, there might be a few things you can do as a renter. So like we said before, community solar is the best thing you can do as a renter. But ultimately it depends on your landlord and what they'll allow. You can't obviously make any changes to your apartment unless they're permitted. So if you can get permission from your landlord, you might be able to take advantage of some of them, like energy efficiency, if you're the one paying for it and they're not. But it all really comes down to the semantics there.
Yeah, I think community solar is absolutely the go-to option there. Yeah. And like Emily said, there's definitely going to be, if you don't see one of those states highlighted for community solar, keep your alerts on, because that's rapidly expanding. The IRA included a lot of incentives to developers to make sure that there's more community solar, and we should see a boom in that availability in the coming years for great option for renters.
Yeah, and probably worth saying that just like big utilities have tried to push back against rooftop solar, they're not that excited about community solar either if they don't own it. Mm-hmm. Right? These utilities like to own the whole thing, because whenever they make an investment, they get a certain percentage back on the investment they've made for the capital, whether it's transmission lines or a energy generation facility. So we're in a fight to make community solar a reality for people, exactly in the position that our questioner is in. Maybe not a homeowner, maybe getting around to becoming a homeowner, maybe not planning to ever be a homeowner. Well, how do you participate in this revolution? It happens through community solar. It's been stifled in many states, including in California. Unfortunately, we've had to push, and there's a push on underway right now with Vote Solar, among other nonprofits, to try and open this thing up and make it real, because there's a lot of opposition to it. It's, you know, it's not going to pad the profit margins of big utilities. And whenever that happens, we're really, unfortunately, up against it. So EWG is fighting alongside many other groups to make this a reality. But Ben is exactly right. This is the future. The utilities just don't know it yet. And so once that happens, you'll be able, as whether you own or not, you'll be able to partake in community solar programs that bring all the benefits that we know the solar revolution can bring.
All right, thanks for that. I think we have time for one or two more questions. Another that came in is, could these incentives be repealed by the federal government before they're set to expire?
Never say never, unfortunately. It would be, I think it would be hard at this point to undo those incentives. It would, you know, there's all kinds of things that an executive branch, a new administration could do to frustrate these kinds of programs, defunding personnel who implement them, you know, tricks like that. But I don't think, even though it was a partisan vote, as we mentioned earlier, there's so much support for this amongst rank and file regular Americans in red states and blue states and purple states in between, that I think it's going to be a pretty big political lift to push back against the inevitability of the solar revolution. It's among other things, one of the cheapest ways to provide electricity now, certainly at the utility scale. Wind and solar are outperforming other sources in terms of cost. And so I think the writing is more than on the wall, it's on the roof. And that being the case, I think it's going to be hard to turn back this trend. But listen, we're always at the barricades in case this is the kind of attempt that's made. And we know, again, utilities would like nothing more than to see rooftop solar go away, so that all the solar that came in, and when utilities talk about solar, what they're often talking about is a solar farm someplace. Here in California, big fights in the Central Valley, you know, where we're covering tens of thousands of acres with solar panels, and folks out there are objecting to it. And they're saying, well, why don't you put solar panels on top of parking lots and schools and on homes and all these warehouse roofs we see when we fly into an airport? Why aren't you doing that first? Good question. And the reason we're not doing it is a lot of pushback from these utilities. So community solar is part of that battlefront. We're trying to advance it, and it takes civil society, it takes advocacy groups to push up against these economic interests and make it real. So we won't let it happen easily if there's an attempt to repeal these things. I'll tell you that. There'll be a fight.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Ken. I think there's probably less of a chance that these exact incentives are repealed. But the last time you and I hosted a webinar back in March was to talk about the issue of the switch over in net metering credits in California, and how, you know, that landscape looks drastically different. So it's not to say that these technologies can't pencil out in different ways due to different policy amendments at the state, you know, level, or even, you know, potentially at the federal level. So although we've described these credits being pushed out a decade, while that's really exciting and that is not likely to go away, that doesn't mean that now is a good time to just wait around. It means that rather maybe the best time to go solar is now, before you know, opposition catches up, and you know, perhaps the fight continues. Like Ken, you said, we know it always does.
Well, you know, and we're having solar put on our roof now, and we went with a company that was outside EnergySage, but I used EnergySage as my North Star to try and figure out what all these bids meant. I had other reasons for going to a company that was not one that was one of your installers, but you know, we just saw this significant reduction in benefits to households in California that was engineered by the state's three big utilities here in the state. And my particular utility, Pacific Gas and Electric, was at the forefront of trying to de-incentivize rooftop solar. And so it's a dramatic difference. We rushed ahead to get under the deadline of, I think it was April 15th at 5 p.m., whatever it was in California.
Yep.
You probably had an incredible surge in applications
Huge.
through EnergySage, right?
Yeah.
So the demand was there, and everyone's thinking, well, I better sign up before these incentives get worse. And it's a dramatic reduction in the benefits in California, completely unnecessary. We fought the good fight along with a lot of other public interest groups. There were 600 public interest groups that pushed back against this proposal. And while we made the worst aspects of the proposal go away, like an actual energy tax, just specifically aimed at rooftop solar investors, consumers who put panels on their roof, there's going to be a special tax on them, which utilities, by the way, are still fighting to install through state policy. But we got rid of the worst, but we didn't win on the question of the net energy metering, what you get back from the utilities, the rate you're compensated when you send clean electrons to the grid that you didn't use because they were generated in excess of what your household needs by rooftop solar panels. And so again, we've got to constantly be on guard against the rear guard actions that we see from the powers that be. I mean, we've had these utilities running the show and making billions of dollars for over a century. It's a regulated monopoly, and the first rule of a monopoly is protect the monopoly. Don't let others in. And if you're starting to put rooftop solar on, you're competing. You're competing with your local utility. You're your own little power plant, your own little distribution system. So jump in now if you can. It's a great time to do it. If it's the right time financially for you. We're fighting in North Carolina. We fought here. Lots of other battles going along to push back against utilities that want to really throttle rooftop solar. Take a look at your local state situation and move when you can to take advantage of, the best possible set of policies.
And even in California, if you didn't get in under that deadline, we've been following electricity prices there, and they're just set to continue to increase. Like they're increasing,
Yeah.
and it makes it so that even if your savings are lower than they would have been before, and your payback period is a little longer, if you go solar with a battery, you now need a battery in California for it really to be worth it. But it's still worth it because they're just going to continue to increase electricity prices. So there's never a better time than now.
Yeah, we're going to add batteries again. That will depend on when my wife goes away on a business trip, and then then the family will make a decision about adding batteries at that
and heat
during
pumps.
that window. So we'll be in touch with you, EnergySage.
Perfect.
And I'll blame you also. Okay. Anything more, Jared?
I think we have time for the one last one a few people are interested in, and that's how do people know that their EV choices are going to meet the requirements to take the full advantage of these tax credits?
Yeah, there's some tools online. We can send them out after this that can help you. There's lists that can help you figure out if different brands of EVs will meet the requirements.
Great. Thanks so much. All right, we can send that out later on, post it to the chat link here. But I think that's all the questions we have for today.
All right. Ben, Emily, so much for your expertise, and thank you for the presence of EnergySage in our world, because we really do need that help to get through these difficult decisions. So everyone who joined us today, the EWG family, thank you for joining. I hope this was useful to you. If you have any questions, just shoot them directly to us, and we'll get you the right person at EnergySage to give you the information you need. So thanks a lot.
Thanks so much for having us, Ken.
So long.
Have a great one.
All right, we're clear. Thanks all.
All right. Thanks so much.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Love that one. That was a great discussion. I think we could have killed 2 hours talking, but
No, it's
yeah.
really fun. Well, it's a great topic, and I have a new roof on my house. Did I tell you what we went with Sunrun for me, for political reasons, really.
Yeah.
But I don't know if stop me if I told you this. So the Sunrun guy comes with the drone, and he's checking out the square footage of the roof and whatever else they do with the drone. And I was out there because it was so fascinating. And I said, so how'd you get your start in